Hi there, you've come back. Well, thanks so much. Or maybe you're just joining me for the first time, so welcome. You've found your way to my podcast, What I Find Funny. My name is Deb Sherritt, and this podcast is dedicated to all things funny in every sense of the word because, well, that's my point. Funny is a very personal thing, and its meaning can span wide ranges. Funny can mean jovial or that something's off. And so I've made it my personal quest to do a deep dive into my experiences and see what you think. Maybe you'll find it funny and maybe you'll think I'm off. But either way, I hope I've entertained you. On this episode of What I Find Funny, the topic is Donny Osmond. For those of you who don't know him, he was the equivalent to maybe the Jonas Brothers when they were much younger, or even Justin Bieber, only without all the tattoos, bad teenage years, and fame making you do stupid things. Now, Donny Osmond was pure gold to me growing up, and I had every square inch of my bedroom walls completely covered in posters of him. I couldn't get enough. Luckily, he was from a very famous musical family, and they performed all over the world. I was even lucky enough to go and see him in concert on 2 occasions when I was 9 and 11 years of age. Both times were during a large Canadian national exhibition held in Toronto, Canada every year. And being that I was so young, my parents bought tickets for me and my 2 older brothers so that I was flanked by them amidst the enormous crowd of 50,000 screaming teenage girls. At the time, Donny was the favorite of all the Osmond brothers, and at 16 years of age he could sing and make all us girls swoon. His smile was infectious, he was wholesome and handsome, and my dream was to marry him. At least, that was my dream at 9 years of age. So when I found myself in the stadium and screaming and crying along with all the other girls, my brothers didn't know what to think. They really hadn't seen me this crazed before, but when you get around that kind of electric energy, you tend to go with the flow. I was singing and dancing along with the music and having a grand old time, and it didn't bother me in the least that we were actually closer to the planet Venus than we were the stage they were performing on. The Osmond brothers were all very tall guys, but from my vantage point, they were about as big as a grain of rice, so you can imagine my elder brother's surprise when I started screaming, "Donny! Donny!" at the top of my lungs, and then burst into tears because I believed he'd looked at me. The little purple grain of rice, he always wore purple outfits because it was his favorite color, had looked directly at me, and, well, at least I thought he did. I think it was then that my eldest brother thought I'd lost my mind, along with all the other screaming girls. It certainly was a night to remember for 9-year-old me, and my parents repeated it for me 2 years later, only they were the ones who accompanied me, and I was a lot more subdued then than I was in attendance with my brothers. Even so, I got to see Donny Osmond perform twice in my life, and I was a very happy girl. I used to tell all my friends, but my brothers asked me to leave out the part about them being there. They were older than me, and so a 16-year-old attending that concert would not have gone down very well with their peers. However, decades later, as we were sitting around my elder brother's kitchen table reminiscing about old times, the subject of Donny came up, and I was razzed for my obsession of him. It was then that my eldest brother told me something that absolutely blew me away. Apparently, he and his fiancée had been lucky enough to see Donny perform as Joseph in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, which ran as a theatrical musical for a number of years in Toronto. He told me that as he and his fiancée sat there waiting for the crowd to get settled and before the show began, he started telling his fiancée of going to the concert and then at the top of his voice yelled, "Donny! Donny!" right there from the audience, garnering a lot of attention and then some laughs. Well, when asked why he'd done it, he told me, "I knew you'd probably not be able to see the show, so I did it in your honor." That's what I find funny. Oh, it's so funny how siblings change over the years. And he was right. I never was able to see the show, so I'm ever so grateful for the honorable call out. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this episode brought a smile to your face. If so, perhaps let me know with a comment or a hit of the like button. You'll also want to be sure to follow me so you're notified of when new episodes are uploaded. And as the name says, be sure to share it with family and friends. This podcast is available through Google Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and all other sites where podcasts are found other than Apple. No Apple ID, no Apple Podcast. Sorry, Apple. Don't take it personally. And please, always try to remember to find funny where you can. And take care.